Yesterday in a video, I talked about how a few of the voice actors who accused Vic of terrible things were starting a podcast where they plan to talk about their experiences with him, the defamation lawsuit they're facing, and everything in between. And overnight, my tweet about it kind of blew up. It has over 1,000 likes, a lot of people were sharing it, and after I released my initial video with my thoughts on the topic, cancel culture vultures decided I was going to be their next target, and they were going to try to come after me for my opinions, and even voice actors now are attacking me, and I really wanted to show off some of the comments that I've gotten. But quickly, before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or supporting the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So while I want to read some of the very rude and disgusting comments that I've gotten, I wanted to quickly read an article about the initial situation. My video from yesterday will be linked in the description in case you want to see it, but this is a Bounding Into Comics article. It says Dragon Ball voice actors Monica Rial and Jamie Marchi launch podcast to set the record straight about the Vic case. So Monica Rial and Jamie Marchi have launched a new podcast aimed at setting the record straight about their roles in accusing once fellow Dragon Ball voice actor Vic Mignogna of sexual misconduct and involvement in the legal actions that followed thereafter. So, premiering its first episode on January 8th, the In Touch podcast is described by the pair as an audio recollection of their adventures in talking publicly about being harassed. And like I said in my video and also my Twitter thread, I think it's okay if they're going online to voice their side of the story because many victims of many things do. I am not for silencing people who have something to say, but it's not just one or two episodes. It's a whole podcast they're creating to do for the foreseeable future to talk about one experience from each woman and one episode for a timeline of events. And in the first episode, they're acting like they're having a fun time, like it's a big joke. Yes, some people will laugh at situations to try and help themselves deal with trauma, but after listening to the podcast, what I hear is two women who sound completely insincere and who are talking about it like it's a joke, like they've got no idea the weight of how the accusations affect the person they're accusing. But it's not surprising because they did want to cancel Vic, so that's why they're laughing at it. They never wanted to give him a chance to tell his side of the story. They didn't like him and they wanted him canceled, and they got it, so now they're laughing like they won. Of course, the saga with Vic being accused of misconduct and subsequently being blacklisted in 2019 when in the wake of the then rising Me Too movement, both Marchi and Rial, with the support of the latter's fiancé, accused the popular voice actor of harassment and misconduct. It says, I stand with the victims. My experience is minor in comparison to many others. However, having realized this wasn't an insulated incident, I felt compelled to share, Marchi wrote on February 8th, 2019, claiming that Vic had at one time grabbed my hair close to the root, effectively preventing me from moving my head at all. He then jerked his fist, yanking my head backwards and towards him, and then he whispered something in her ear, but she never said what it was. She couldn't remember exactly what it was that he whispered. She just said, oh, it was sexual. Then 2 days later, Funimation would announce that in the light of an investigation into Marchi and Rial's then privately disclosed accusations, they had decided to fire Vic effective immediately, and ever since the industry has basically blacklisted him. While yes, there are still companies who will work with him because he's a very well-known voice actor and he is very good at his job and he's passionate, there are a lot of large companies now that refuse to work with him. And in my previous video, all I did was really voice my thoughts on the Vic situation. I've never talked to Vic. I do not know Vic personally, but I have seen him in many different interviews. I love a lot of his work. I personally think that he seems, from the outside looking in, like a pretty normal guy, and he has maintained his innocence through the years of accusations, the years of being blacklisted. And I simply put those thoughts into a video. And I had put a tweet on social media about the podcast, and I said, nothing says I went through the most traumatic experience of my life more than launching a podcast to capitalize on those clicks. And it has over 1,000 likes right now, and I have upset the cancel culture vultures of social media. There are a lot of people that are very, very furious with my simple statements and my opinions on this situation. There are a lot of people attacking me. There are more that are supporting me. And if you have been on this thread, you've retweeted it, you've shared it, thank you so much for the support. I do really appreciate it. But there are quite a few people that are well known on the internet that have decided to try to attack me. Now, before I show you all of the examples, I'd like to point out that I don't really care. I'm confident in who I am, the way that I look, the way that I talk, the content that I make. It doesn't really matter to me what these people say about my content, but someone who decided to try and attack me, who insulted the way that I looked, is Chris Rager, a Dragon Ball voice actor. He's pretty well known in the anime industry. Let's go over to his IMDb page really quickly. Of course, he worked on Dragon Ball Z. He worked on Full Metal Alchemist, Samurai 7. He has worked on quite a lot of things. He's well known in the anime industry, like I mentioned. But he decided to say, the most traumatic thing in my life is your hair and your overall cuntiness. Now, I usually don't call out people's grammar, but he did use the wrong "your" twice in this post, but I'd like to point out a few things here. On both Twitter and in my video, I did not demand that these women cancel their podcast, demand they remove the episode from the internet, tell people to attack their podcast, go on social media and attack them. I didn't say that we should cancel them or try to get their careers ruined. I didn't insult the way they look, talk, act. All I did was say, hey, I think that it doesn't look good that they went online and made a podcast about this trauma they went through and are laughing the whole way through it. It doesn't come across as being very sincere. Yet the people defending them have now insulted the way I look, the way that I talk, the way that I act. They are demanding that I remove my video. Even this Funimation voice actor insulted my looks and said my cuntiness is traumatic. How is that okay? They're literally saying, oh, because the women on their side are voicing their opinions, we can't scrutinize them. Yet when I'm a woman who's voicing my opinion, I should be scrutinized and insulted and attacked? How does that make sense? I actually think that this is pretty hilarious. I don't care what Chris Rager has to say about me. But he did try to get me ratioed. He tried to get some people to attack me, and there are other people on my thread that have attacked me, like YouTubers. There was Pushing Up Roses actually made a comment. She had kind of made her comment and moved on. She had said sometimes we deal with trauma by putting it out there so it can live somewhere other than festering within. I'd encourage that kind of expression versus becoming mired in your experience. I realize it's easy to become cynical on the internet when there are so many grifters, but don't gatekeep how people express pain even if you don't personally agree with their methods. She didn't insult the way that I looked, insult the way I acted. She simply put her opinions there and moved on, and that's perfectly fine. I put my opinions on social media. Everyone else is allowed to put their opinions on social media, and that's okay. But like I had said, I personally don't think it came across as very sincere and very professional when they go into a podcast to bring awareness to their trauma, and all they're doing throughout it is laughing. And I get it. Sometimes people experience trauma differently and they kind of show how they are coping with their trauma differently, and that is perfectly fine. And there are many, many people online who talk about their experiences in life in general, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, and everyone does it in a different way. All I did, though, was voice how I viewed it and how I saw this situation. And of course, because a few well-known people did comment on this thread, their fans are flocking to this post, trying to attack me, insult the way that I look, attack me because my cuntiness is traumatic. But there are also a lot of people who are supporting me and who are agreeing with my opinions, and I wanted to read a few of those comments. Silver Star said, I stand with Vic. Somebody said, Funimation really going to give Vic more fuel for another possible defamation lawsuit, huh? It really shows character when these two make a podcast specifically to talk about their trauma, and yet Vic is rarely, if ever, bringing up the lawsuit and just kind of gets on with his life, unlike what these two are trying to do to stretch out their victimhood over what is like 3 years now. Lyle had said in joking around about it too. Somebody said, I'm baffled it took them so long to try and monetize their whole lie. This is literally years after the fact and during a time when the whole thing is really not getting as much attention, though I guess they're desperate to remain relevant and they still need to use Vic. I also wanted to give a big thank you to Bounding Into Comics for releasing this article. It says Dragon Ball voice actor Chris Rager insults Vara Dark over her criticism of Monica Rial and Jamie Markey's podcast. If you watch my channel, you know I do reference a lot of their articles. I think that a lot of the topics they cover are very interesting, and I find myself reading their website a lot of the time when I'm looking for something to talk about, something to show my audience. But thank you, Bounding Into Comics, for putting out this article. I do really appreciate it. But yeah, I highly doubt, guys, that Chris Rager is going to go on social media and continue attacking me, just because a lot of people are very against the fact that he started insulting me based on my looks. But maybe other voice actors will decide to chime in. Only time will tell, but that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.